All right, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. For those of you that were here this morning, this is how we actually take and put into practice a lot of those concepts that we were talking about this morning. Those of you that were able to be in here, if you weren't, we talked about the future of seed and a lot of different things that are going to change, how we're going to change at FBN and go forward, and products that are coming forward and how they can make money on your farm. And so here this afternoon, over the next few minutes, we're going to dig into that. We're going to get into specific products. We're going to talk about some specific details about the company, because we really want you to be able to go back to your farm, take the information that you've learned, and actually put it to work. Let's actually make some money. So my name is Ron Wolfcool. I head up the seeds business. During the next few minutes, you're going to hear from several different of our seed leaders. So first will be Brant, and he's going to talk about what we're doing in FBN seeds at a different level of detail than I got into this morning. And then Andy's going to come out here. Andy came to us from Monsanto Bayer, so don't hold that against him. He saw the light, came around, and great guy. He knows our corn portfolio inside and out, so he's going to talk about corn. And then Steve Sick, who came to us from Corteva, also he saw the light, came around, and so Steve, he's going to talk about soybeans, and he's forgotten more about soybeans than I know. Very, very detailed knowledge. And Steve also is the operational coordinator of our breeders network, so he's very plugged into that side of the business. So with that, I hope that the next few minutes are very educational, very helpful to what you're going to do on your farm. We're going to get right underway. So here is Brant Cayley.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming out here and hanging out with us for a few more minutes here. I know we're getting to the end of Farmer to Farmer, and we appreciate you sticking around and wanting to learn a little bit about our seed business. I also just want to say thank you for, especially to those that bought seed, but really anybody that's in our network, anybody that's an FBN member really contributed to us launching the seed business. So thank you for being a part of the network. Thank you for buying our seeds so that we can keep doing what we do. So like Ron said, my name's Brant. I'm going to be talking about just a few things here today. I'm going to cover what is the F2F Genetics Network, right? So we are going to talk about our products, but I think it's really important that you also just know what we're trying to do and some of the core values of our seed business. And then we're going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to talk about how things went in 2019. Okay, so how did the growers that grew our seed, what was their experience like? And then how did we do from a sales perspective? Okay, and then I'll kick it over to the rest of the team to talk about some key products in the portfolio. Okay, now before I jump in and talk a little bit about F2F Genetics Network, I want to talk about the why. Why did we get into the seed business? We get that question asked to us a lot, and I think it's kind of interesting because typically my response is that we've always been in the seed business. I've been with FBN for almost 4 years now. And if you think back to when we first launched, our first product was Seed Finder. And the whole goal of Seed Finder is to give farmers a better tool to make a more informed decision on your seed so that you can be more profitable as a farmer. So in a way, we've always been involved with seed. And we've just continued to grow from that. So if you look at the history line, you look at what we've done over the last 4 years, it's been a pretty fun ride. So in 2017, okay, we launched FBN Seed. Okay, and we didn't bring our own seeds to market. And so what we did was we linked up with a couple of other companies and we were a distributor for them. And we were getting a lot of feedback from you, our customers, to help out with seed, try to bring some price pressure into the seed industry like we have for chemical. So we tried to do it via distributor method. And we had some success. We sold some seed, but we weren't making the impact that we're trying to make, right? The goal of FBN is to help farmers be more profitable. And we weren't doing that as a distributor because we weren't applying price pressure on the industry. So that's when in 2018, Ron joined the team, and he brought this vision that is now F2F Genetics Network, okay? And that's what's enabled us to start to bring really great prices and really great products to your farm, okay? Now, this year, earlier this year, we also launched kind of the next really exciting thing of our seed business, and that is our off-patent traits for corn, okay? Now, there's already off-patent traits in soybeans. Steve's gonna talk a little bit about that, and that's really had an impact. But there has not yet been generic or off-patent traits brought to the corn market. And we are excited and proud to be the company that's gonna do that. So we have already started trialing BT corn, okay, so above ground insect control. That has to go through some EPA registrations, but we hope to have that to market here in a couple years. And that's really, I mean, you think we've shook some things up so far. That's when things are gonna really change, is when we can offer, you know, off-patent corn. Think of it as like a double stack off-patent corn at some really close to the prices that we're offering today. So this is where we've made it in the last 4 years, and I'm excited to see what this timeline looks like here in the future. So before we get into what F2F Genetics Network is, I think it's important that we kind of take a step back and we look at what products got us here, right? We talked about Seed Finder on the last slide, okay? But these are still products that are really vital to your farm, and honestly, they're more powerful today than they ever have been, right? Because every farmer that adds more data into our network helps all of us make better decisions on our farm. So I just want to call out that Seed Finder is better than ever today. We have 4,500 seeds and hybrids in this tool, and the whole intent of this is not to show off F2F Genetics Network. We hope it does, but that's not the intent. The intent is for you as farmers to be able to pick out the best seed for your farm using aggregate data from our members. So be sure to check out Seed Finder. We have demo stations if you'd like to go through those with one of us, okay? Now, another thing that Seed Finder shows is it shows relabeling, right? And relabeling is something that we've talked a lot about over the last couple years, but this is a product that we launched, I want to say 2 years ago. And it's really simple. You take a picture of a seed tag, okay, which has a variety ID on it, and then we put that into our system, and what we do is we're starting to untangle the web of seed relabeling, okay? So we have now 20,000 seed tags in our network, in Seed Finder, and it shows all the different amount of relabeling and all the different price variants that you see from the same product. So this is a great asset for you guys as you're making your seeding decision throughout the year. Okay, and then the last part of Seed Finder that I want to highlight is seed profiles. Okay, now, yes, Seed Finder starts out by just showing a list, right, of how different seeds perform and how they perform in different states or soil types, and that's great. But what's really helpful is that you can click in on that link, you can click in on those products, and you can start to see what we call the seed profile. And this takes that farmer shared aggregate data kind of to the next level, where now I can look in there and I can see exactly how this seed performs at different seeding rates, which is really helpful, right? What population, how does this respond to different population amounts? You can also see it based off the year, soil texture, a lot of different factors. So, the kind of way I think about it is you start out with the big list as you're kind of choosing what products, and then once you make your decision, okay, I like this product right here, you click in on it and you can start to learn a little bit more about how to place that seed. So definitely continue to check out Seed Finder. We add benefits and features to it all the time, so please continue to check that out. Now, hopefully, Seed Finder will eventually kind of guide you down the path to F2F Genetics Network. Okay, we have a handful of farmers that have shared data already. We need more of our farmers that grew our seed last year to share data in so that you guys can all see how it performed. But we hope that ROI story will eventually lead you to the F2F Genetics Network seed. So we launched F2F Genetics Network back in August of last year, so about 15 months ago. And F2F stands for farmer to farmer, because the idea here is we are trying to develop a seed company made by farmers, right, with your guys' input, and for farmers, okay? So Farmer to Farmer Genetics Network, that's the name of our seed brand. Now, I want to spend some time talking about the 4 core principles of our seed business, okay? These are the, if you think of them as like the 4 pillars of our brand, I hope that we can stand up here 10 years from now and we're talking about the 4 pillars of our seed brand, and it's still these 4 things, right? These are the hills we want to die on as a seed company. So I want to go through each of these so that you understand what we're trying to do with F2F Genetics Network. Okay, so the first one is farmer-driven, breeder-direct. Okay, now this one is what enables us to be able to offer really great prices or really great products at a really great price. Okay, and let's unpack that one a little bit. Okay, now here is how the typical seed industry works. Okay, there's a lot of different layers in between. In fact, this chart right here is actually missing a couple layers. Okay, there's a lot of steps in between the trait originator and the farmer. Okay, and that's fine. Each of these guys provide some value, of course. Okay, but they also, need to take a little bit of a cut of the profit. And if you remember from Ron's talk earlier today, there's $20 billion of profits that sit between the trait originator and you, the farmer. Okay, so the goal of F2F Genetics Network is to cut out those layers. Okay, the goal, what we're trying to do is we're trying to sit right in between the breeder, who in many cases owns genetics, right, as a trait originator, and you, the farmer. Okay, and then we go out and we use data to help choose and develop future products. We produce those products, we bag those products, and we deliver them to your farm. Okay, and this is what enables us to go and get really good genetics and still offer them at a really good price. Okay, so that is what F2F Genetics Network is probably our main core principle that we're working towards. Now, in the future, we hope to kind of supercharge this concept via our breeder network. And if you heard Ron's talk earlier today, you heard a little bit about the breeder network. But the idea of the breeder network is to take our network of farmer data on one side, and then go and leverage a network of breeders on the other side. Okay, and they can get a lot of efficiencies out of data just like you can as farmers. And if you want to talk about how we as a company are going to be able to keep up with the billion-dollar R&D budgets of our competition, it's going to be because of our breeder network and because of our data science team. Okay, and this is already well underway, where we're taking a network of independent breeders, we're applying data science to what they do, and we're unlocking better genetics that will eventually end up on your farm. Now let's talk about the other core principles. Okay, the second one is yields without compromise. So you hear us market a lot, right? Our marketing angle is hopefully pretty clear to you. We're focused on ROI, right? We want you to think about ROI on your seed as you're buying that seed. Now, obviously price is a factor of that, but really yield is still a really important factor about that. We just don't market it that much. What I want you guys to know is to rest assured that we are not cutting corners when it comes to yield. We know that it's an important factor when it comes to making your seed decision, and we are doing our best to make sure and investing properly to make sure that we are offering top-end genetics to your farm. Okay, the last two are really pillars of FBN, right? And they've just been applied to our seed business. And they're probably the two things that when I talk to farmers, they're most excited about with our seed business. Okay, and the first one is transparency you can count on. Okay, so that's just what we're talking about here is data transparency. All of the performance of our products is going to sit in Seed Finder just like the other 4,500 products that are in there today. Okay, well, so if we have products that we have out there in year 1, year 2, and they don't perform very well, you guys are going to see it at the same time that we see it. Okay, and I'll be honest, we probably, over the history of our company, we will have a couple products that flop. And I just want you guys to know that we see the value in that. We see value in having transparent data so that you know when products aren't performing, and we know when products aren't performing, and that keeps us honest to make sure that we're offering you really good products in the future. The last one is fair and flat pricing. Okay, and this is, again, another pillar of what we're looking for, and that's why we have no zone pricing. Okay, we have no haggling. Our prices are price. Anybody is able to get the prices that we offer, and that's another important thing that you guys have asked for and that we're excited to bring to market through F2F. Okay, so how did things go? How did 2019 go? Well, we were able to get on almost 1,000 farms in the first year. So thank you to all of you that decided to make that commitment and jump in with a brand new seed company with a very limited yield data. You guys gave us a shot, and we're forever grateful to you guys for that. We had almost 1,000 farmers. If you look at the map, right, it covered the Corn Belt pretty well. So we have pretty good performance now and an idea of how our products perform in each of these regions. And for the most part, things went pretty well. 2019 was a wild year, right? We had some really high performing products, or some really high performing results, and we had some results that in some areas that struggled, of course. But for the most part, I would say that everybody's pretty happy with how things performed. The truth will come in whenever more data comes in. Okay, so far we have about 10% of our customers so far have shared their yield data with us. So if you're one of those folks, please, if you could get that yield data in, that will help us unlock and better be able to answer how we performed in the last year. For now, really what we have is we have customer testimonials. Okay, and I wanted to pull out this quote because I really liked what David Halsey had to say. David is a farmer from Michigan. He's here. I saw him just a few minutes ago. And this quote I thought did a good job of summing up what we're trying to do here at FBN. He said, "For me on my farm, it's price and value. I know I'm getting a strong genetic package at a fair price." Right? And that's really what we're going for. We're going for great genetics and a great price. David gets that, and we hope you guys will see that as well. So with that being said, I'm going to kick it over to Andy Ackley. Okay, so Andy is our corn portfolio manager. And he's going to highlight just a few of the products in our lineup. We have a full lineup now. I think nearly 40 products or over 40 products are in our corn portfolio. We've picked out 10 that we want to cover with you guys here today. So I'm going to kick it over to Andy.
Not on? Oh, there we are. Good afternoon. So before I start talking about our corn products, what we're going to be doing is just highlighting a few of our products, describing to you a little bit about them and where they fit, some about how they did in our research trials this year. Obviously, we look forward to getting your data into the system, and that's good or bad. We're about data transparency. We want your data in our system, whether it's good or bad. So however it turned out, please submit your data. You heard a few guys say today, we started our corn portfolio a year ago. So I came to FBN from Monsanto, many years of development of the products, and Monsanto and all the nationals, Pioneer, Syngenta, have done a really good job of convincing you that you have to have traits, right? Absolute necessity to get the best products, and only their germplasm is the best. And I would challenge you to think about that a little bit. We started this seed company a little over a year ago, and our portfolio, the majority of the time, actually nets more ROI for you than our competition. So I would argue that we've built a pretty good portfolio in a pretty short period of time, and we don't need traits to get there. Now, that doesn't mean that traits are bad, right? They're a great tool. If you need them, they work extremely well. Their technology is good. Their products are good. No argument. But our products, if you don't need traits, work extremely well. So with that, I want to start getting into a few products. I want to talk about our 999 first. This is a brand new product, so you wouldn't have seen it on any of your farms. It's only been in our research trials. Fantastic product. It's a real robust plant type. It is a good dual purpose product, and it really has a wide area of adaptation. We're yet to find a place where it didn't do a good job this year, and as you all know, it was an extremely challenging year, but did a really good job this year. It does have more of a fixed ear, so it takes higher population. I don't really like it on real hardcore sandy acres, real drought stressed. It's not a good home there, but certainly variable soils to better performing acres is a good spot for it. Keep your pops up. Good test weight. So this year was a real challenge for test weight. And the primary reason for that is when a corn plant dies, right, it's the natural process where the grain black layers, it dries down, you harvest. Well, this year, for whatever reason, a lot of the plants started to dry, And then you had this extended period of time after that before you got the black layer. And in some places that took up to about 3 weeks. During that time frame, as the rest of the plant is dying, it's actually pulling starch, pulling energy out of the kernel. And when it does that, your test weight really starts to go down. Our 999 kind of black layered pretty good, pretty fast. We actually maintained a lot of that test weight. It is a tall plant. It's a fairly healthy plant. Doesn't get a lot of northern, doesn't get a lot of gray, so it holds in there for health. Good end of season finish. It's a real pretty stay green late in the year, but really solid product. In our data this year, I would say that this is probably one of the better 100-day products in the market. Our data is extremely compelling on this hybrid. If you plant 100-day maturity, I think this is one you should really take a good look at. And by the way, come see us in our booth. We have the data on these products in our system. We can put in your local area and you can see how it worked really in your backyard. So we go on to the 028. So this was the last year's release. This has been out in the market quite a bit. This one probably has a little more stress tolerance than the 999, so it will handle a little tougher soil. But the one place that we found that this doesn't do really good is in river bottoms, real low land that stays wet a long time. The root development isn't quite what you would like it with when it's underwater. So it tended to not root quite as good as we wanted. The 999 actually got to a point where it did put some roots down, and we had a lot better end of season on it. The 028, keep it on rolling ground, keep it on higher ground, and it really did very well in those environments. This is probably one of our healthiest corns. It really resists about any disease there is. It's a tall plant. It is kind of a fixed ear. So the 999 is a little more fixed than the 028. The 028 will stretch a little bit more, so you can back pops off on it just a little bit, but the 999 keep those pops up. We use this a lot for dual purpose. It's a fairly tall hybrid. Overall, it's really versatile when it comes to that. So good silage, good disease, good end of season finish, handles a little bit of stress, good yielding product, keep it out of the river bottoms. 068, this is our 106-day product from last year. This may be one of the best 105-day products in the market. Our data on this is extremely strong. Again, come to the booth and you can see it. It does like higher populations. This is a super fixed ear hybrid. So keep your populations up. If you drop them, you're going to lose a little bit of yield on it. It's very tall. It's a great dual purpose product. The end of season look on this is really, really nice. Nice late season intactness, good looking color. The one watch out that we found on the 068 is as you head east into kind of eastern Indiana, over into Ohio, there's a very different disease spectrum in that part of the world when it comes to standability. And what we found is kind of crown rot, fusarium, anthracnose. When you get under those really, really high situations, so where you're corn on corn or corn on corn for many years, a little bit of stress and a lot of water, this tends to get a little tippy. So in that environment, I'd stay away from it. If you're on a rotated acre or you get over into Illinois or further west, it actually does extremely well. It will handle some stress, keep it off the really hardcore stress, keep your populations up. The disease tolerance on this is pretty good. So it's really clean end of season. It looks really good. A lot of versatility and great performance out of the 106 day. We go on to our 108 day. This is actually, for its disease tolerance and rootability, this is a great product for corn on corn. This will handle low to average populations, so it actually has a pretty nice stretch in the air, fairly good flex. So it's got a pretty wide population window. It's a pretty tall product. I had a grower in Wisconsin that used this for silage, and it ended up cutting 31 tons for him. And he also was going to do a little bit of, he was going to dry it, and it came up above 200 bushels. So did a really nice job this year. The disease, this is a pretty nice looking healthy plant end of season, so the disease tolerance on it is pretty good. The only watch out I have on this one was, I think originally when we first rolled this out, our anticipation is this would handle really hardcore stress. And what we found this year as we moved it south, and we got into some hotter and drier environments, it didn't quite maintain the yield like it ought to. So if you have kind of droughty soils and you have a lot more heat, I'd probably stay away from it, keep it north, and keep it on some of your better dirt, and it ends up being a really nice product. Our 110 day, so there's a couple products here I'm going to talk about, our 110 and our 112. These are racehorse hybrids. So you've heard racehorses before. We know where they go, but most importantly, we know where they don't. So keep this off stressy acres. This belongs on high fertility. It belongs, under irrigation. It belongs where you're really trying to drive top end yield. It does have good southern movement. So this is one that handles heat pretty well. So as you're moving south, if you want some early corn and you've got good moisture, this is a good product for you. Very healthy product. It is kind of a semi-fixed. It's got a little bit of stretch in the ear, so you can pull the pop back a little bit, but keep the pops up if you're going after that top end yield. It is a really tall plant. We do use this dual purpose. It's got a really nice look and good conversion for feed value for silage. Overall, it's a pretty healthy plant for disease. We did see a little bit of disease late season this year, but it really wasn't that bad. And when I talk about late season diseases in health, I am a firm believer in using fungicides in corn, also in soybeans. Adds a few days of moisture to the corn, and I realize that, but there's a benefit to yield there. So from a disease standpoint, this is one of those ones that may not need a fungicide, but can probably benefit from it. Our 111 day is brand new this year. You wouldn't have seen it in the field, but we've had it in our test trials. It had a really good year in the plots. So this is I think this is a really good combination with the 110 day or the 112 day I'm going to talk about in a minute. It actually handles pretty good stress, so it's very versatile. It's got pretty good top end yield, and it's probably not the top end yield of the 110 or the 112, but it's real close to it. So it's just really, really versatile. It handles a lot of different environment. This does have a little bit of flex in it, so you can pull back your populations. Outside the pivot on some of the lighter ground, it actually does really good if you pull back on your populations. Great grain quality, really healthy product. It does like fertility. So if you're going to put it on some light ground and pull your populations back, it's going to be okay. If you want to put it on good dirt and you're really going for top end, just make sure you keep your fertility high, and it'll respond very well to that environment. Tall plant, good dual purpose option. Some of the breeders that we work with, they focus more on kind of the silage markets. So we sometimes get these products that do really well dual purpose. And a lot of the products that we're talking about come from that family of breeders that also breed for silage. So we get kind of the opportunity to utilize their genetics in both ways. Our 128, very similar to the 110, it's a racehorse. It doesn't handle stress well. Keep it on your best soils. It's really, really good top end. Great disease package. This thing is, again, one of the healthier products in our portfolio. Good test weight. It's a semi-flex, so you can pull the population back a little bit, but if you're going for top end yield, you want to make sure you push that population, get it up to where it needs to be so it performs for you. Good tall plant, good dual purpose opportunity, very healthy. I love this corn. We haven't had any standability concerns out of it this year. But the one thing for certain is it is a racehorse, just like the 110. So make sure you put it on your good dirt and take good care of it. A good combination to that one is our brand new 139. So 139, again in our test plots, performed extremely well. This one will handle some stress. Doesn't quite have the top end of the 128. It's real close to it. But this is really for kind of your moderate acres over into your tough acres. It's very versatile. You can use it a lot of different ways. It's got a real nice showy ear. It opens that husk up. It looks real pretty. Good late season health. Keep your fertility up. Pretty good test weight, pretty good height, so it's okay for dual purpose. I actually like the 128 a little bit better for dual purpose, but if you need to go that way, this one will perform well. So Good package when you put a versatile product like this with a racehorse like 128. So our 168 is kind of an interesting story. We've actually got a picture of this where it's probably about 18 feet tall. It doesn't usually get that tall, but it will hit the pivot. It's really, really tall. This is kind of one of those older corns that has just a gigantic ear on it, a lot of flex. It handles heat, it handles drought. So as you move south, for you southern folks looking for 115-day corn, it handles heat, handles stress, big tall corn, great big ear, you can back your pops off, fantastic performer. So we were positioning it for silage, but we harvested a lot of it for grain. And even up into southern Illinois, this thing had a ton of yield this year. So it's a fantastic performing product. It's a full flex, good dual purpose, really tall product. It'll handle low pops. Don't be pushing this one up to 38,000. It's not necessary. Keep it around 30 or lower. You're going to get just as good a yield there as you will anywhere else. But if you do want to use it for silage, great tonnage, good feed value, good conversion, great product. So moving out of the F2F lineup into our traded portfolio for Master Farmer. Now, like I said earlier, traits are absolutely a great tool. We need to use traits where we have problems. They're very effective. They work really well. We have a traded lineup called Master Farmer. I'll start here with our 101 day. So this is a brand new product for us. We had a product last year that was a 99 day. It actually crossed the sea with Moses, so it had quite a bit of age on it. Good, solid, old performer, but our 101 day we found actually performed really very closely to it and a little more top yielding. Great agronomics. It can dry down a little bit on the slow side, but not like 105 day. It's kind of in the hunt for 101 day. Really good performer in the central, over into Michigan and over into the Dakotas. The watch out would be when you get over into like New York State, Pennsylvania. It doesn't quite do as well there, but very solid everywhere else. Good yielding. It will handle some stress, so it's really, really versatile. It is available with the full boat as a double pro. I even think we have some with the triple pro with a rootworm in it. Good test weight, good height. It can be used as silage, and I'm really pleased with what we've seen this year in trials. It's performed really, really well for us. The 090 is another brand new product for us this year. We were selling the 089 for last year. It's a good versatile product, but it also is rather old. The 090 is much newer genetics. Really, really solid performing. In Illinois, this was probably one of the better products in the 110-day set. Fantastic top-end yield. Really, really good standability. So even this year where standability was challenged, it looked really good. Great late season disease control, gray leaf spot, northern corn leaf blight. Very good on Goss's wilt as we move west. Real solid performer. It is fairly tall. It certainly can be used for silage if that's your option. But I would certainly keep the option available to use this for grain because it's quite a grain producer. And then finally, our T159, so this is 115-day corn. All the way down into Texas, this thing performed extremely well for us, and all the way up into southern Iowa, northern Missouri, and over into southern Illinois. Good, solid performer, available as a double pro with easy refuge. Good top-end yield, great grain quality. Hard to find a spot where it doesn't work. A lot of flex in the ear, so you can back the populations off to fit your style of growing. Good height. We used a lot of it for silage last year. It actually did really good for silage. So really good, solid traded product for the southern part of the country. So with that, I appreciate your attention. Thank you for going on this ride with us, for trying some of our corn last year without a lot of data. We certainly look forward to you having the opportunity to plant some of our stuff here in the upcoming year. Wish you the best of luck and safe travels home. And I'm going to turn it over now to Steve Sick, who's going to talk about our soybean portfolio.
Thank you, Andy. Well, good afternoon, everyone. just wanted to start out with a few things before we got into the product discussion. I really want to thank everybody for their support of F2F Genetics. You know, you've heard it many times from Ron, Amal, Charles, our seed group. You know, we obviously couldn't do what we're doing without you and your support. You know, to go from 0 to 1,000 customers in 1 year is really unheard of in the seed industry. But I also want to bring back an old reference for those of you, some of you that are out there that are as old as I am. Remember the old cereal commercial with Mikey? Try it, you'll like it. For those of you that haven't planted F2F Genetics, I'd really suggest trying it. You know, give us a shot. I think you'll really be happy. You know, the data, you know, is obvious and apparent, and really, it's something unique in the industry. I've come from, you know, 2 of the major corporations, and the stuff you don't see typically is really what they don't want you to see, obviously, but it's really what you should see. With FBN, obviously, we're fully transparent, and you will see all that data. You know, like Andy mentioned, sometimes your hybrid's not going to be the best thing on the farm. It's not going to be the best performing thing. We don't hide behind that. We're actually going to show you, hey, we had a hiccup this year. You know, 2019, if you look at what we had this year, you know, for weather, just the conditions from planting to harvest, I mean, as everybody knows, it's been, you know, beat into the ground how bad a year this was. So, you know, when we look at making decisions in the industry and within FBN, you know, what to recommend for planting next year, really, you know, really think hard about the year we had. A lot of the data that we're looking at was planted very, very late, you know, plots that were planted extremely late. You know, these things aren't the norm. They really aren't. So we just got to kind of keep, you know, 2019, yes, we're using it for, you know, advancements and products for next year, but we also kind of have to keep that, you know, in the back of our mind that it was such a weird year this year. I mean, as we all know, like I mentioned, it's just something that we hopefully will never see again, in my opinion. I started in 1984 with Golden Harvest, working in the research department, and I can't ever remember a year like this year. So, you know, Ron mentioned too that I work on the breeder network side. FBN is actively working with and have been in contact with over 100 breeding organizations across the globe. It's unique, and it's amazing to me how many different breeders and breeder organizations are out there. You know, and we're getting access to a lot of that germplasm, which is, you know, something that most of the majors doesn't have access to or won't do. You know, they want to keep it all in-house, obviously. Maybe it's part of their ego, could be, but you know, something is too. If you access traits from outside or germplasm from outside, you have to pay a royalty on that. I think, you know, we're in a unique position. You know, we cut out the middleman between the breeder and the farmer. I think that is key, and that's a big key to keeping our cost down and our cost, you know, relative to where, you know, it's definitely affordable to plant. So it's unique. It's very different in the industry, no doubt about it. It's amazing too, what I found out from talking to a lot of those folks in breeding organizations is how many of them supply the majors with germplasm. I was totally shocked. Coming from the major world, you know, you kind of live in a tunnel sometimes, and you look at that and say, well, you think everything is, you know, one of the majors, all the germplasm and base. It's not. A lot of that comes from outside sources, and a lot of those outside sources are who we're working with. So we've got a great opportunity. We're building the portfolio. We're building off-patent traits. You know, a lot of things, exciting things coming in the next 2 to 4 years. Absolutely. It's going to really be amazing. And to be on the train that FBN is just rolling down the tracks, there's no doubt about that. So we'll get into the, you know, on the soybean products here. I'm just going to talk about the products that we have availability on. I'd be glad to, after the presentation, you know, talk about something that we, you know, may look at planting for next year. But I also want to start out quick, you know, just describe our nomenclature or the way we name our hybrids. So the F2F is obviously farmer to farmer, F2F Genetics. The 2, the first digit in the naming, means the crop. So 2 in this case is soybeans. 1 is corn, 6 is alfalfa. As we add other crops, you know, we'll change the number there. The G would be glyphosate on soybeans, C would be conventionals. We also have high oleic soybeans coming down the pipeline, so that'll be HO, so it'll be 2CHO behind that to designate high oleic. So we're trying to make it really simple. The first digits after the dash represent the maturity. So in 258's case, it's a 2.5 maturity soybean. The last digit is the year of release. So it was a 2.5 released in 2018. Obviously our new 9 series is everything that was released in 2019. So it's really simple. We tried to keep it the same between all crops, and we hope it's all easy to understand. So 258, in my opinion, still has one of the highest yield potentials in our entire portfolio. Very bushy bean, don't overplant it, puts a lot of branches on. Good medium plant height, above average on SDS. I mentioned about keeping it at manageable populations. I always recommend, in almost all cases, start out at 140. Don't go any higher than 140,000. A product like 258, you can go down to at least 120 to 130 and still maintain maximum yield because it's so branchy. Puts a lot of pods on the branches. You overplant a variety like that, you take away its ability to put pods on the branches just due to competition. So 258 is an extremely good product. 298, you'll notice there in the first descriptor, unique looking semi-determinate plant. So 298 and 318, that we'll talk about here in a minute, are semi-determinants. And what that means is they put a lot of clusters on, so pod clusters, and it also narrows down the flowering window of a soybean variety. So soybeans typically will go anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks at least of flowering. So on a semi-determinate, what we've done is we've cut down that time, 10 days, 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks on flowering. So that allows you a wider spray window. Soybean flowers are very susceptible to the weather. So what that does also is it cuts down the amount of time when you get into that heat stress. Soybean flowers do not like hot, dry winds. Obviously throughout most of the country, you get, in the summer, you get some pretty hot winds blowing, and a semi-determinate plant takes care of that. So 298 is exactly opposite plant structure as 258. 258's wider, very bushy. 298 is a great choice for 30s and below, 30-inch rows and below. It's more of a Christmas tree type looking plant. So it's gonna have tightly held branches, but it's not gonna really bush out, to really cover wide rows. Nice tall plant. 298 will handle stress extremely well. It's almost to me like it's got some southern germplasm in there that really handles, some of the tougher soil conditions that we can throw at soybeans in that maturity. 309 by far this year had the strongest yield out of all of our research trials. It was just absolutely a machine for yield. Beat all the glyphosates, very, very competitive against the Pioneer and DeKalb checks we had in there. Once again, good Phytophthora tolerance. What we're bringing in here is excellent standability. You just don't see this thing even lean off to the side. I mean, it stands like a fence post for its plant height. 298 is probably gonna have just a little bit better stress tolerance, but 309, it just, like I said this year, was just an absolute machine for yield. 318, once again, we're back into the semi-determinate plant that I talked about earlier, but it's more of a medium plant height. So it's not gonna be as tall as 298, average plant height, but very, very good standability. Really like the branching on 318. It's kind of a 258 plant structure. Once again, very, very solid Phytophthora. I forgot to mention on the 309, 309 is also cyst tolerant, and 318 is not. Get into our group 4s, and I forgot to mention this earlier when I described the naming. The S on the very back end stands for STS. So it'd be a real good double crop option, tolerant to sulfonylurea. I always have a hard time with that name. So very high yielding on 408. 408 is a very tall product. I've seen it in plots where it's at my chest or shoulder high. It may lean a little bit, but when it drops its leaves, it always stands back up. I've never seen it flattened on the ground. The unique thing about 408 is it pods really high off the ground. So 408 will easily pod in that 8 to 10 inches off the ground. So if you're going in, no-tilling into wheat stubble, absolutely a perfect choice. Get that combine cutter head off the ground a little bit. Very, very unique looking plant. 408 will work single crop and double crop. 448, the next product, is really meant for double crop. 408 is gonna give you a higher yield potential than 448. But 448 is a really good, rugged, tough variety. It's very, very consistent. Excuse me, it really is. So 448, once again, it's an STS variety. Both those two are good for double crop, but I would keep 408 on your highly productive ground, 448 strictly double crop or on your very, very tough soil conditions. You know, I mentioned earlier about, you know, we're almost sold out, and please come see us at the seed booth. A lot of these numbers are almost out of date. Some of them we're almost sold out of now, or we have sold out of. Soybean inventory is going very, very fast. We've had really good uptake on our soybean sales positions. So please, if you want to and you're interested, we hope you are, in planting F2F soybeans, please come and see us. Glad to talk to you about, you know, in more detail about the varieties as well. But please stop by the booth and see us. With that, I know there's a keynote speaker coming up here, I believe, at 2 o'clock. Otherwise, the trade show is obviously open till 3, I believe. But please stop by the booth and see us. We'd be glad to talk to you. And once again, oh, thanks. Appreciate that. We appreciate your support on F2F. We really look forward to doubling our 1,000 customers this next year. So with that, thank you very much. Hope to see you out there.